and a very warm welcome to Tech Circle. You're listening to Tech This Week with me, Shweta Sharma, and my colleagues Anand J, Payal Ganguly, and Supriya Roy. In this episode, we analyze how enterprise tech companies are moving beyond the ongoing pandemic with their organic and inorganic growth plans. We look at deal making and policy making in the tech space this week and more. So the week kicked off with Silicon Valley-based seed accelerator Y Combinator graduating its latest batch of startups for summer 2020. Close to 200 startups pitched their product entirely online thanks to COVID-19. I wonder how different that must have been compared to the face-to-face pitches that previous Y Combinator batches are used to. Supriya, your thoughts there?
That's right. It is for the second time that demo day occurred entirely online following the winter batch in March. To shed light on what the experience meant for a Y Combinator graduate, we have with us not first, not second, but third-time entrepreneur Saurabh Nangia, CEO and co-founder of Mesh, one of the 14 Indian companies part of the summer cohort. Mesh operates a social network for companies that makes it easier for employees to accomplish goals and get timely feedback, especially in remote teams. Hi Saurabh, thank you for joining us. Tell us what Y Combinator Summer 2020 was like.
Hi Supriya, thanks a lot for the warm welcome. So Y Combinator was super stellar. It's this 3-month program. I think it benefited us a lot more considering it was remote. Having lived in the valley in the past, I do realize that it's a lot of hassle when you're living in Mountain View where Y Combinator's office is. And let's say you're just going to Sand Hill Road where all the investors are in the valley. Or even if you're heading out to San Francisco, you have to take the Caltrains, you have to take Uber. So you spend a lot of time going up and down before you are able to present to a potential investor or even a potential client out there. And the advantage of doing it remotely was, one, we could get investors from all over the world to join in on the YC demo day and listen to our pitches. So we had more than 2,000 investors worldwide who had come by and they were listening to all the Y Combinator companies who were pitching for the first time in front of the investor community. And earlier it was just limited to the people who could come in the valley and attend the Y Combinator demo day. But now we had from Israel, India, Dubai, even Australian investors on the YC demo day. In terms of the business also, I think it was beneficial, as I alluded to, that we were able to do a lot more sales calls within a single day as compared to what we would have been able to do pre-COVID. The other advantages of Y Combinator always remained, even though we were operating remotely. We could reach out to our group partners whenever we wanted. We could get on a call with them. And thanks to the technology nowadays, like even when you're talking over a Zoom call, you can still connect pretty well with the investors for getting a quick feedback from them or just discussing whatever you want to brainstorm on.
Which is sort of similar to Mesh's entire product narrative on, an internal system.
Yeah, that's true. So that's also one of the reasons why our product is getting really good response from the market right now. Because thanks to this remote hybrid culture, which is here to stay, as companies have become remote and distributed, they are looking for a solution so that employees remain engaged. And at the same time, the leaders and the managers get visibility inside the entire org. And they don't feel like, oh, my teammates are just digging their nose while they're sitting at home. They know how they're progressing on the goals and they can give them feedback on it also on a continuous manner.
Great. Now, I understand that Mesh was incorporated only in March this year. It's super early to be asking this question, but I really want to know, as of today, what does the CEO have in mind in terms of product scalability, company's immediate goals? Are we looking at a set timeline in terms of funding? Are we looking at new possibilities within the primary focus of business? Because needless to say, the size and the scope of the market is large, given how 2020 has been so far.
Yeah. So we closed our funding round last week. So knock on wood, we had a pretty good run on that front. The seed fund is in the bank and things have been great on that front. In terms of the immediate focus, it's basically to get that product market fit. As you said, we are slightly early. We launched in March and we are still iterating with our early customers to achieve that perfect product market fit. so that these customers love the product so much they refer it to their friends, and that will slowly lead us spreading across other companies too.
Yeah, sounds terrific. Thank you for joining us, Saurabh.
Thanks a lot, Supriya. It was a pleasure talking with you.
That was Saurabh Nangia of Mesh. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. Moving on to another story from this week, IT services firm Happiest Minds received an approval from the market regulator SEBI for its listing at stock exchanges. Anand, could you please take over with more details?
Happiest Minds IPO will be the second time the 77-year-old Ashok Soota has successfully taken a company he founded to the public markets. Soota spent 15 years in leadership roles at Wipro before leaving the company to form Mindtree in 1999. And Mindtree went IPO in 2006 with revenue of around 455 crore. Soota left Mindtree in 2011 to start Happiest Minds, and this time Soota is going public at a much bigger top line, though 2 years later than his first venture. It is unusual for any senior industry executive to have steered or founded 3 top-tier IT companies in a 35-year-old career, and 2 of them, being founded by himself. So it's interesting to note here that Soota thinks mind is an amazing thing. He himself said that, and he named both his companies Mindtree and Happiest Minds. Despite the IT services industry becoming a much tougher market for smaller firms, Soota has managed to grow Happiest Minds at close to 19% during last fiscal, and profits grew by 5 times. The company is going public at a time when COVID-19 has ravaged economies, and despite a temporary boost in digital spending, the overall technology spending is expected to drop this year. So this goes on to show that Soota has great confidence in a choppy market. However, the company still needs to be careful about its over-dependence on the US market.
Interesting. Now, talking about the companies which are listed, the Cognizant, in fact, announced its 6th acquisition in 2020 with Tin Roof Software.
Also, this week, Temasek-backed UST Global also invested in sensory sciences startup Tastry.
HCL Technologies too, actually on Thursday, said it opened a new cybersecurity hub in Sweden. It's first in the European region. So yeah, I guess growth seems to be the enterprise flavor this week.
That sounds interesting, Supriya. Meanwhile, staying connected all the time is the curse and boon we are living with, and now in flights too.
That's right, Shweta. DGCA this week outlined the draft guidelines for in-flight connectivity, months after it allowed the use of Wi-Fi on flights in March through a Gazette notification. Now, according to the draft rules, the pilot in command has the ability to deactivate the Wi-Fi anytime during the flight, and this will be allowed only for use of personal equipment, which has been listed out in the draft. Since the Civil Aviation Ministry lifted the restrictions in March, SpiceJet and Vistara have been operating some flights which allow for in-flight connectivity. The rules should be formed up once there are deliberations on the public comments, and maybe we can expect to have Wi-Fi connectivity in flight later this year or sometime maybe next year.
I wonder when I will be able to carry out any application of all this newfound knowledge. Shifting gears, Competition Commission of India, the antitrust regulator, on Wednesday approved a stake acquisition by Lightstone Fund into 3 entities associated with online pharmacy service PharmEasy. That's Ascent Health, Elmenlo Solutions, and API Holdings, and 91 Streets. A person in the know told me that API Holdings is the new holding company which will have the shareholders of both PharmEasy and Ascent. 91 Streets, like you guys know, is the holding company of only PharmEasy. Eventually, there'll be a new structure from what I see of it.
Lots of consolidation on the e-pharmacy space there. Also, speaking of which, the National Digital Health Mission, which was announced by the Prime Minister on Independence Day, outlined its draft health data management policy this week. The voluntary healthcare program includes multiple stakeholders, including doctors, hospitals, healthcare providers, pharmacies, insurance companies, as well as citizens. So now the draft is important because it defines what comprises sensitive personal data and data protection measures in place as part of the NDHM. Also, the government had come in for flag regarding the management of data on Arogya Setu, the app meant for tracking COVID-19 and for contact tracing among people in India. So I think this time they are playing it safe.
Yeah, we actually have up until September 9th, if I'm not wrong, to submit comments and
That's right.
observations on the entire policy. Bengaluru-based Mohalla Tech, which runs vernacular social media platform ShareChat, acquired Circle Internet, a hyperlocal news and information platform. While they did not disclose the terms of the transaction, they did mention how Circle's hyperlocal expansion playbook complements ShareChat's wide user base to further widen its content sharing ecosystem. 2-year-old SAFE Partners-backed firm, it claims to have generated over 2 million hyperlocal content from users so far.
Also this week, HotelLogix, Access Rooms, and RedUp, each a provider of technology solutions for the hospitality sector, announced a merger via a no-cash stock swap transaction. TechCircle interviews Axel-backed HotelLogix CEO and co-founder Aditya Sanghi about the company's growth strategy, oncoming profitability status, hotel tech consolidation in a pandemic-stricken environment, and more. Do check that out.
In terms of the startup fundraise disclosures made this week, deal-making saw a 59% rise in terms of the capital deployed week on week. Making it to the top 5 were Byju's, Avel Finance, Verloop, GameZone, and TrueFan. Totally, 12 startups raised $157 million, while 6 of the startups did not disclose how much they raised. This is as of Friday evening.
In our multimedia coverage this week, we spoke to the Chief Information Officer at CRISIL on its pivot to microservices. In the interview, he also spoke about how the recent acquisitions have helped the company better its data game. We also spoke to the founders of LoanTap and Capital Float on how the fintech sector is dealing with the COVID-19 woes. Well, that's it for this episode of Tech This Week. Do stay tuned in and logged on to techcircle.in for more interesting news, videos, and podcasts. Thank you very much for listening.